Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is For Paws in a Book. I make book and lifestyle related content, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. Today we are going to react to another book haul and get rid of some books if I haven't read them. It took me far too long to get around to filming this, so we're filming the initial part and the reaction all together. That's fun. So let's talk about how last month went, and that was not great. Okay, so I had 3 books that I needed to read in order to keep them, and we're not doing so fantastically. I'm actually in the middle of this one, so I am going to keep it. I should actually be able to finish it this weekend, and I don't know where in it because I'm just listening to it on audio. But I should be able to finish this one. I am enjoying it, but I'm like 30% of the way through, I think, something like that. So I'm gonna give myself another month to finish it, kind of like I did with Skyward, and hopefully it's good, and I want to keep it. But the other 2, not so much. This one, actually, if you watched my Realmathon kickoff, I tried to start reading it, and I did not like it, so I DNF'd it. So obviously we're gonna get rid of this one, and then I didn't even touch this one. Which is kind of sad. Like, I kind of want, I don't know, part of me wants to read it, but then also part of me knows that, like, if I put this back on my shelf, it is going to sit here for another year. So I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of it. The audiobook is on Scribd, and I want to say it might even be a KU book too. So, we're just gonna let it go. I can find it if I, have an urge to read it again. So we are gonna get rid of 2 books. Okay, so for this round and the next round, we're actually gonna be going back 3 years, because in 2021, in April and May, I ended up kind of taking a hiatus because that was when we lost Zephyr, and I just didn't feel the need to, film anything, which actually probably means that the June book haul is going to be massive, and I really hope that I've read some of those books. Fingers crossed. But for April and May, we are going to do 2020. And I don't know if you remember what April 2020 was. But that was the beginning of the pandemic. So we love that. All right, so without further ado, let's just see where we're at. Okay. All right, here we are. This thumbnail scares me. This was before Book Outlet was a terrible company. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I think everyone made a Book Outlet order. And so there's a lot. That's a big box. That is a big box. Okay, here we go. I'm really hoping, because we go back 3 years, that we have a lot of YA on this, which means that I will have already read it or will have like unhauled it. I'm really hoping that this is going to not be as bad as okay, we're just gonna watch it.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna. This is Coffee, Books, and Bullet Journals, and I have an unboxing.
My hair looks so weird. Oh, that's the very old intro. This is so, I don't watch my videos back when they're this old. This is weird. Oh my, that's so old.
Okay, so we are all in the midst of a lot of things. Between the, pandemic and, social distancing and all this other stuff.
We didn't even know what was going on at this
point. And then on top of that, Utah or Salt Lake City had an earthquake last Wednesday, and my anxiety...
Oh yeah, no, we also had a huge earthquake. Like, I mean, it was like not huge, like it was 5 point something, like right at the very beginning of the like social distancing. Everybody, like, nobody was wearing masks yet because we needed to save it for healthcare. So it was like everybody was already so anxious about it, and then we had this huge earthquake that was everyone was already talking about. So like that like added on to everyone's stress. I remember that. Oh my gosh.
So the first book that I got was from Amazon. Let's try not to show my address. This was one of Jessie's from Bow Ties and Books favorite books of 2019, and it was a book that I had never heard of. Nobody had said anything about it. It wasn't a hyped book, but it spoke to me on a spiritual level. So I went ahead, I put it on my wish list, and that Amazon credit was for things that like shipped from Amazon. It wasn't like you can use third-party sellers or anything like that. So this was one of them. So I got After the Flood by Cassandra Montague.
I did read this. I didn't like it, but I read it. So that's good. I've already unhauled it, but I did read it. It's like dystopian meets slice of life. It was made out to be this dystopian book where the whole country had flooded, and so like Iowa was a beachfront town. And it ended up being way too slice of life and too like mundane for what I want in a dystopian. I want like action in a dystopian. I want like what is happening in the end of the world kind of thing. And this one was like just too slice of life, which is not my preferred genre. So yeah, I only ended up giving this 2 stars.
All right. The first one was a recommendation from Madison at Princess of Paperback, and that is The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen.
So I ended up unhauling this one. This one ended up in the first round of These Books Will Self-Destruct. I started reading it, and it was just really bored. And I didn't want to like read an entire trilogy when I was not really loving the first book. So I ended up just unhauling that one.
About a bunch of casts of, I don't know if they're actual birds or if they are like people that have bird names, essentially. But even
25% of the way into the book, I didn't know that. So that's why we went.
Immune to the plague. One of the things that I'm super into right now, and I think I talked about this during my backlist readathon, was retellings. And so I picked up a couple of those. And this one is a Blade So Black.
Okay, I think I unhauled this one too. I don't know why, but I did. Like at least I can't find it. If I can find it, then we'll add it to it. But I think I unhauled this one.
All right, this is Dry by Neil Shusterman.
I read this one. I read it last year, but I read it. This was another one that was on These Books Will Self-Destruct, and I read it and I actually really liked it. This one was interesting because a friend of mine and I both bought this one at the same time, and she read it. But the book starts with like them running out of water, and there was the book starts with a scene at the grocery store where everyone is like running to try to get water and supplies. And obviously in April of 2020, if you remember that far back, grocery stores were like running out of things, right? And it was a panic buy. So I put this one on the shelf for a long time, and didn't pick it up, but I did read it last year. So, okay. Well, we're at 50% so far, which I'm okay with. And so far I don't have anything to read.
Okay, the next book I know very little about. I remember somebody talking about it, and then it got put on my radar. And so now I picked it up. And that is Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa... That person. Bashardas.
I unhauled this one this past, year or so. Retellings, not so much into, but it's specifically YA fantasy, especially YA retellings, really not into. So I did unhaul this one.
All right, this is a book that I've seen a lot of people talk about. Books and Lala. Kayla from Books and Lala really liked it, and that's kind of what put it on my radar, and that is Miracle Creek by Angie.
Okay, I did read this one. This one ended up being a group book for a book club that I was in, like, shortly after this, I think. Maybe later in this year. I don't remember. But I did read it. I gave it, like, 3 stars. I don't think that the autism representation in this was very good. I think that it was, like, convenient, right? Like, they were autistic, and that was just convenient to the plot, but it didn't actually... it just wasn't good representation. It wasn't good. But I did read it, and gave it 3 stars.
All right, another book that has been really, really highly talked about on BookTube recently. I think this is their debut novel, and then they had another Shakespeare retelling, but this one is Always Never Yours by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca.
This one I also unhauled. It's YA contemporary, and I have actually heard really good things about this, but I think that the audiobook is on Hoopla, so I'm not like too worried about it. But YA contemporaries are just like bottom of the priority list. So I unhauled this one a bit ago.
Okay, the next book was a little bit of out of the box, kind of random, but I remember someone talking about it. I don't remember who it was, but it very much intrigued me, and that is Nemesis by Brendan Reichs.
I don't remember this book existing, actually. So clearly, I don't own it anymore. Because I just did a whole, like, unhaul and organization of my shelves, so I know where my books are. I don't remember ever owning this book. This is the problem with going back 3 years, is I don't remember books that existing. So clearly I unhauled this at some point. I think probably someone told me it was YA, and I had heard like bad reviews about it or something. That's as I imagine what happened, because I don't remember that book existing.
Okay, the next book is a fantasy that has been talked about quite a bit, and that is An Enchantment of An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson.
I also unhauled this. This one actually I'm a little bit sad that I unhauled, because I have heard I've heard some not great things about it and heard some pretty good things about it. This one was actually a very recent unhaul. I think within my last big unhaul is when I got rid of this one. So it did stick around for a while. I think the other thing was that I didn't like the way that it, that copy specifically was shorter than most paperbacks, and I just didn't like the way it looked on my shelf.
All right, I've got 3 more. This one is I believe it's a contemporary and a historical fiction. It has a dual timeline, and it is about a woman who was a famous opera singer, and then back in the day, and then now a girl who is at a camp for at-risk teens, and I think some sort of music camp. And that is Everything Beautiful Is Not Ruined by Danielle Young.
I also unhauled this one. That's just the theme of today, which is fine. This is a historical fiction, and it was YA, which are 2 things that I don't really like. So, yeah, this one has been long gone. This was when I was still following a few of the bigger booktubers that don't necessarily, they read some of what I like of the genres that I read, but then they also read a lot of other things that I now know that I don't really like. But I was anytime they would haul it or they would read it and review it and like it, then I would just immediately put it on my wish list. And so we were still in the beginner stages of being on BookTube, and still picking up whatever you heard about. So that was this.
All right, this is a book that I've heard very mixed reviews on. Some people really, really liked it. Some people did not. And that is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg.
I did read this one, and I actually really liked it. This was a very weird concept about these animatronics that were kind of sentient, that worked as the employees of essentially Disneyland. And it was a really interesting social commentary, not gonna lie. For a YA book, this was really interesting.
All right, and the last book is another one that's really out of the box, but I hear a ton of praise about this author. So Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore.
I unhauled this one. I unhauled, I think, all of Anna Marie McLemore's, not because of anything that the author has done or anything like that. They're a great person, but they write very whimsical books, very flowery writing, and if you've been on my channel recently, I have discovered that is not necessarily something that I like. The whimsy is no more. So, this is very flowery writing, and that is all that they write. So, I read something else from them, Bianca and Roja, I think is what the other one was. And I didn't vibe with the writing style. Okay, so that was all of it, and I'm not reading anything. Let me see if there are any vlogs around this time that have book of the month unboxing or some other book hauls. Let me see. I'm gonna see, because otherwise I'm not reading anything.
A few minutes later.
Okay, so I can't find any vlog where I hauled anything, which makes sense because it was April of 2020, and so I wasn't going anywhere. I was just kind of hoping that I would have Amazon packages or something. But then I was thinking, because I'm going to also be doing May's book haul, it would eat into that. So what I did is I went downstairs and I actually found A Blade So Black. It's on my shelf that's on Pango, but I haven't technically sold it yet. So we'll just read this. I'll take it off of Pengo and I'll read this and we'll see what happens. I think it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling, sort of, like a loose retelling. So we'll see. I'm going to give it a shot, and this is the book that we'll read. So this one will be the one that I unhaul if I don't read it. We'll just put it back on Pengo. So anyways, that one was a little chaotic. This whole video was a little chaotic, so I apologize for that. Let me know down below if you have read this, if you think I'll like it, if I should try it, and I'll talk to you down below. That is all I have for you today. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang on with me more, the links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.